All right, so I had to speak on this 999 tax plan. Did I say 29? 999 tax plan. All right, so I've heard some stupid stuff from both sides of this thing. And the one thing that I don't, I think that is not being put out there that people don't understand is in this country we have a consumption tax, which is sales tax, which means the more you buy, the more you consume, the more tax you pay. You know, and so the idea is that you would pay a certain percentage of your income that you make. You would also pay a certain percentage of consumption. So this is the deal, okay? If you live under poverty, and what we consider poverty is that your income level, um, net of tax, well, your gross income level is just enough for you to survive, which means pay rent, buy food, things of that nature. Now, the problem with that is that living expenses are different in every part of the country. And so to have a federal minimum wage seems, you know, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Okay, and I think maybe minimum wage is state specific. I'm not so sure about that, but if it's not, it should be, and it should probably be city specific because even within some states, the cost of living is higher or less than others. And the way I look at it is this: if you're doing business in a high income area, well, those people can afford to spend a little bit more money at your place of business. And if they don't want to pay their money, then they'll go to a lower income area and spend their money there. Which to me, evens the playing field. Um, and but and then you have businesses that won't want to do business in high income areas, but then you also have businesses that cater to high income individuals, and so they will want to be closer to those individuals. And nine times out of ten, they're probably not paying minimum wage anyway. But I see that as something again. It's a challenge, and I think it is something that levels the playing field. So back to the whole 999 thing. If you make just enough money to pay rent and things of that nature, the idea is that you don't pay income tax simply because after the income tax is paid, you won't be able to then live. What would have to be done is you would have to raise the minimum wage to then make sure that net of taxes, the person's income is enough for them to be able to survive. And I don't think anyone wants to raise the minimum wage. However, if it was done on a state by state or city by city basis, I don't see a problem with that. I think it's something that could very easily pass. I mean, you simply go and say, listen, this is the city we live in, and this is how much it costs to live here. Therefore, businesses in the area have to pay people, a set minimum wage that will, suffice them to live. Now, what that means is you may have people that live in lower income areas that decide to get work in higher income areas, and maybe they commute. Again, that is something I think that levels the playing field. You know, so that's that. And then you have areas that don't have public transportation, things of that nature, which makes it that much more challenging to get to those higher income and higher paying jobs in those areas. But again, I think that's something that levels the playing field, and I think it works out well that way. So okay, so now let's say you're above poverty, all right, and then you're paying 9% of your income in taxes. You also pay a consumption tax. There's a theory that says the less money you make, the bigger percentage of your income you actually spend. And then we get to talking about percentages. Well, yeah, but percentages. don't really matter because what we're talking about is the amount you pay. You know what I mean? There's also a theory that you should pay your share fair taxes for the public services that you use. That's a very good idea, and ideally, that's the way that you would want something like that done. However, it would be very difficult to figure out who's using what public services. Then, of course, there's these social programs, food stamps, housing, things of that nature. And if you look at it that way, then that means people who are receiving these programs because of their income level will then pay the most tax because they're using the majority of these public services. So I think that's total bullshit. But then again, I'm not a fan of government social programs either. So with that being said, I really think it works. I really do. You know, I've heard complaints about, well, what do you do about states who impose additional sales tax and cities that impose additional sales tax. I say either and this is the problem I have with states' rights. Okay, this was the argument with the Civil War was about whether or not the federal government can control the state, and as far as I'm concerned, yes, the federal government should control the state. The state is not its own country. That's just bullshit to me. There are some things that a state has to handle on a state level because it may be so vastly different than the rest of the country. That's fine, but something as simple as sales tax and even property tax. Well, okay, property tax is not going to be the same all over the country. All right, that's fine. That's something that should be handled at the citywide level. But I mean, something like sales tax. It, I can see how using sales tax can either incentivize or de-incentivize businesses from coming into the area or leaving the area or certain businesses being in an area. Um, but a lot of that gets really political, and so and then some of it is just plain it's unfair. I mean, I live in Texas. And 45 minutes from here, Oklahoma, well, not 45 minutes, maybe an hour away, Oklahoma is is legal to gamble. Why do you think Oklahoma does that? Well, because they're pulling in revenue from surrounding areas, primarily Dallas, because they're so close. And there may be one other big city close to Oklahoma that doesn't have legal gambling. That to me, I say to have states that specialize in certain things, okay, for resources. That's natural, right? The resources are there, so they're gonna specialize. You know, but I don't like the idea of state regulations determining states' revenues. I mean, come on, let's be honest. People in Oklahoma are not going to be okay with Texas trying to pass a law to legalize gambling. That would hurt their bottom line significantly. You see what I'm saying? It's ridiculous. I say if gambling is going to be legal in one state, legalize it in all states. It doesn't make any sense to me to not do that. And so the 999 thing I think is a great idea. I think it moves us in the direction of federalizing some of this stuff. For instance, schools, public schools. Why not federalize? What's the deal with states having different education curriculum? I understand that a long time ago, again, states specialize in certain things, and so you would want to teach kids, those specialties. But I mean, we're living in a more and more global economy, and it's not very uncommon for someone who grew up in Carolina to move to Dakota for a job. I mean, what's wrong with that? And for the people who don't want to do that, I think they're going to I don't want to say die out, but I mean they're going to be no more after a while. It just doesn't make any sense. I mean, if there's a better job in Dakota, why stay in Carolina? You know what I mean? Pick up and move, do whatever you have to do. I mean, a long time ago people walked, right? Why not? I mean, So that's my thing. 999, I think, is a great idea. Unfortunately, it cannot be implemented without vastly changing a lot of things at the state level and even at the city level. Um, Another thing that the tourism tax. Okay, again, some states specialize in some things, and so they get a lot of tourist dollars. But why the additional tax on the tourist dollars? I mean, the companies that are catering to these tourists are already paying sales tax, and income tax and property tax. I say leave that kind of crap alone. Tax on rental cars doesn't make any sense to me. You know what I mean? It's not like the government is doing anything to help rental cars. And guess what? If the rental car company did receive some kind of government handout, take it back. They shouldn't have got it in the first place. You know what I mean? Transportation, as far as I'm concerned, federalize it. Seriously. I mean, when you talk about air control, we're talking about not just domestic travel, but we're also talking about a military thing too. Because I mean, we have to control our airspace, and charging the airline companies and charging the airports to do that, I think makes a lot of sense. However, we have these private companies that don't want to do that. If you federalize it, then it's already done. There's no complaint. Now, of course, we can always complain about how much we're spending to secure our airspace. But the same could be said for how we secure the airspace of anywhere. I mean, when we secure the airspace of Iraq, couldn't we complain about how much we spend to secure it? I really don't think it's going to be that big of an argument like it is right now with the taxes that the government is levying on these private airlines. Um, yeah, federalize it. Trains, federalize it. Trucks, no, I wouldn't federalize that because those vehicles are on the road. However, I wouldn't mind federal. Well, even the regulations for the trucks should remain at the state and citywide level because you have different road conditions, different hazards and things of that nature that have to be considered for individual states and cities and things of that nature. So I wouldn't want to federalize that. But federalizing, sales tax and things of that nature, why not? You know? If a 9% tax um, if a 9% tax on everyone's income will be enough to take care of our our governmental responsibilities, I say go for it. Close down all of the stupid tax credits, earned income credit, close that down. The SUV tax, that's ridiculous. If you buy a truck for business, write it off as an expense. Why the additional tax on the SUV? It's stupid. You know what I mean? Matter of fact, shut down all of the I-9 uh, specialty tax breaks. I think it's just stupid all the way around. But anyway, 999 works, but only if we vastly change the rest of the tax code, which means basically throwing it all out and starting over brand new. Which I think is something that we should do. I'm a fan of anarchy. You know what I mean? Like close it all down and start over, right? Anyway, that's my 15 minutes of fame. 999. Why not?